Welcome to Hanoi, the city with chaotic streets, trains running inches from homes and cafes, trees that grow on top of and over buildings, and a history that would make Paris blush. Specifically, we're in the city's Old Quarter, and we are going to show you exactly why this area is so unique, even for Vietnam.
I know that many of you guys have heard about Hanoi's famous train street, and I just want to clarify one thing. It is not technically in the Old Quarter, but we're here. It's really cool. It's very vibey. We got to do it. We have officially made it to the train street. In fact, we sat down here at a little cafe, and we're just going to watch the train come by in a few minutes. Pro tip, if you ever want to do this, come early in the morning, because it is mostly empty. What I find most interesting about this street is that there are shops and cafes here, but there are people who just live above it too. This is still very much a lived-in street. It's very unique. The trains are coming.
Right there. That was crazy.
Faster than expected, closer than expected, and much larger than expected, which I guess I should have expected it to be larger because it's a train.
I wonder what it's like to actually be in the train and be passing through. That would be kind of cool to see.
That was a truly incredible experience. If you ever get a chance to do this, definitely do. But Alexa and I have a full day here in Hanoi, especially the Old Quarter. And so we need to make our way to Thang Long Palace. Do not let the clouds fool you. It is humid and sticky today. Ugh, we are in the tropics now.
Welcome to Thang Long Citadel. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that was built in the 11th century. It was constructed on the remains of an old Chinese fortress. For about 1,300 years, this was the center of regional politics here in Vietnam. Unfortunately, between 1885 and the 1950s, much of this was demolished by the French. What we see here today is really all that's left.
Now, technically, we are not in the Old Quarter of Hanoi. This is a little bit outside of it. However, in a lot of ways, we had to start here because this starts to tell the history of how the Old Quarter came to be in the first place, because it kind of all starts with this citadel.
It's kind of eerie.
This building behind me was one of the buildings that the French built in the late 1800s in place of the Imperial Palace that was here before. You can see because at the very top it says 1897. It's also very European style. So much of this Imperial Palace really does mirror the rest of Hanoi, where you have older, more traditional Vietnamese buildings next to very French-looking buildings, and they all just sort of blend into each other. Gives it a really interesting feel that I'm not sure quite exists anywhere else. Really fun exploring Thang Long Citadel, but this episode's all about the Old Quarter, so it's about time that Alexa and I head back there. Alexa and I are about to head back into the Old Quarter, which is where our hotel is, but you guys haven't really fully experienced it yet. So let me just paint a picture for you. It is a feast for the senses. You're going to smell things, you're going to touch things, you're going to see a lot of things, you're going to hear a lot of things. It's just everything, everywhere, all at once within a relatively small part of Hanoi. It is, if nothing else, just very chaotic. If you are on the timid side about walking across the street with traffic coming at you, it's gonna be a challenge. And if you need any sort of mobility device at all, it's gonna be impossible for you to get around. Now that said, it's also really cool.
I wasn't sure what to expect for Hanoi, but I love it so much. And I'm very much a timid walker across the street, and I've gotten used to it. Oh my, okay, we're going. Oh my God, oh my God. It's kind of exciting. I love it here.
A few weeks ago, Alexa and I were in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, we experienced the very famous Shibuya crossing, which is the largest pedestrian crossing in the world. I will say, for as many people as that crossing has, it is nowhere near the level of chaos and stress that goes into crossing just a small street here in Hanoi. How you doing, Alexa?
Good, a little overwhelmed.
One thing to remember when you're in Vietnam, because it is a tropical environment, is that even if it looks relatively dry in the morning, it could get dark and cloudy and a little rainy, just a little bit, like it is now. We did not bring rain jackets. Just run with it, I guess.
Can't resist a fresh coconut. Walking around a lot. I want to stay hydrated. It's an arm workout and a drink.
We have officially made it to our next stop here in the Old Quarter, the O Quan Gate, which is about one of the calmest places in all of Old Quarter Hanoi. I really want to try and walk through it, but the traffic just keeps flowing. So the O Quan Gate, which is right behind me, is the only surviving gate of the original, very expansive citadel of Than Long, which is why we wanted to start there in the first place. And it was one of the gates that signifies where the Old Quarter starts. Apparently, according to historic reports, a lot of gates like this existed throughout this entire area that would have a guard posted out in front of them that would do things like stop thieves from getting away with some sort of good that they stole. And that leads us to where we're going to head next, which is talking all about why Old Quarter was the original mega marketplace for Hanoi.
Coconut water, super good, but running into a similar problem that we had in Tokyo. Where are people putting their trash? Not a lot of trash cans anywhere. And this can't really fit in my purse like the coffee cup I had in Tokyo. So hopefully I find a trash can.
Make no mistake, Hanoi is a very large city, but it's not just a concrete jungle. In fact, one of the things I'm loving most about it is that there are trees everywhere. They just sort of spring up everywhere and crawl over buildings and sort of take up their own space. And it kind of gives the whole area this rich canopy that makes it feel really green.
Welcome to Hanbok Street. This is one of the original 36 guild streets. In the original Old Quarter, each street sold its own good. Yesterday, I needed to get some tennis shoes and I went to the shoe street. There were a lot of shoes. This street is known for its jewelry, so gold and silver. This doesn't really apply today. You'll still find some that sell one or two things very specifically, but otherwise, you can find just about anything on any of the streets. So Geoff, did you pick the jewelry street for a reason?
Maybe. One final thing to note while we're still inside the shopping street is that throughout the entire Old Quarter, you're going to notice that all of the stores are pretty thin and narrow. And this is for a very good reason. It's because back in the 1800s, something called the Nguyen Dynasty instituted a tax that directly taxed the width of your storefront. And so what you end up getting is a lot of very narrow buildings that were built specifically to try and minimize as much tax as possible. These are what they now call tunnel houses because they are long and tunnel-like rather than wide, which would be more synonymous with something you'd see in Europe or the United States. I think it's pretty neat and interesting. I know this looks intimidating and very scary to walk down, but you do kind of get used to it. And I will say, Not once have I ever felt like I was even close to getting hit by a scooter or a car. Everybody kind of goes at a very slow pace. Famous last words maybe though.
So Geoff and I have been in Hanoi for about a week, and when we first got here it was a weekday, and nothing was closed off. There were cars and scooters and people everywhere, but what we found is that on the weekends they actually closed down a lot of the streets, and it's so nice because you can go shopping right by the lake, you can walk around and not worry about cars and scooters a little bit. There's still some scooters that sneak in, but it is a lot more manageable to walk around, and it's so nice to just be able to walk and explore all the shops.
We've made it to Hoan Kim Lake, and before I say anything more, I know that some of you guys are going to say, well, Hoan Kim Lake is not technically the Old Quarter. And to that, I say, yeah, kind of. For our purposes, it's in enough maps that we're just going to go ahead and include it because it kind of has a fun story attached to it. So, if you look behind me to this tower, that is called Turtle Tower, and it actually holds a pretty unique and interesting story within Vietnam legends. The lake is part of an old legend where an old emperor was floating on the lake one day, and a turtle god appeared to him asking for a heavenly sword back. And it was this sword that was used to defeat China and liberate the Vietnam we know today. According to the mythology, the sword had enough strength and power within it that it was like having an army of 10,000 men. I don't know if that's actually true or not. Regardless, the tower was later built for completely other purposes, not related to the mythology at all. But it was renamed to Turtle Tower in honor of this specific story. And now it's become one of the most picturesque parts of Hanoi. Alexa and I have made it to lunch, and we are going to now have our very first banh mi.
Really good. A lot of flavor, a lot of like crunchy flakiness of the bread, which is nice.
Crispy pork. Oh my God. That is so good. I might need to find a banh mi place back home. New favorite food. What a great meal. Alexa and I are fully refueled, which is great because we still have a lot more to see. Alexa and I have finally made it to St. Joseph's Cathedral, which was the very first cathedral built by the French in the 1800s when they took over Vietnam. I think what's perhaps most amazing about this specific cathedral is that it's still standing. Vietnam, for lack of anything else, is a country that has gone through many, many wars. Colonial wars, wars of independence, the American War in the 1960s, and yet it's still here. Now, all that said, this episode is not really about the French colonization of Vietnam. So while there's still a lot more to say about that specific subject, we're gonna wait until our next episode to talk a little bit more about that. But this is truly an incredible cathedral. In fact, it looks a lot like Notre Dame in Paris. Well, with that, Alexa and I have been out and about since early this morning. We're tired, we're gonna go take a little break, but the episode's not over yet because we still have a whole night to get through.
A few moments later.
Alexa and I have made it out of our hotel. We are heading back into the town after a few hours of rest, and it has gotten even more chaotic as, well, other people start to head out for their plans for the evening. But we're on our way to a little bit of a rooftop bar. Hopefully we get a little bit of a nice view for sunset. We'll see.
We just checked out the famous coffee note spot here in Hanoi. Super cute, super crowded. It was fun to like write a little message. Finally got to try some egg coffee. Don't know if I need any more of it. I think I'm one and done.
Lovely view, a little rainy.
My hair is getting bigger.
Alexa's hair is getting bigger.
Oh, mine's spicy. Yum.
Solid old fashioned.
I got the rooster. Do you see it?
Just some little side commentary as we wander through the party district here in Hanoi is that you wouldn't know it, but this is a very, very touristy town. There's a lot of people from a lot of parts of the world here, and I just think it bucks the trend of what you would think would be a party city. Like you would think of like Bangkok in Southeast Asia, for example. But Hanoi, wild. Welcome to Hanoi's night market, which is a flurry of activity where pedestrians mostly rule the streets. There are still scooters, there are still cars. On Friday and Saturday, they don't exist. And in this general area, you can find almost whatever you want. There's a store where you can buy fine art. There's a store where you can buy a Louis Vuitton bag. There's a store where you can buy any shoe you want. There's just a lot to do here and a lot to see here. And of course, a lot to eat and a lot to drink. It is incredible. We're gonna take you guys on a quick tour, but it's overwhelming. There are fewer cars and fewer scooters, but they still get really close to you. It's very nerve-wracking sometimes. Blah.
While the night market is still really fun today, I wish we would have been able to show it to you all yesterday and Friday night when there were no cars or scooters. I think like one other thing I'll say is I have felt pretty comfortable navigating Hanoi over the last few days. While it's a little crazy with the scooters, the people, and just like everything, a lot of movement, a lot going on, at night, I'm just like, where am I? It's like I've walked down some of these streets multiple times and I like get so lost. I'm like, where am I? But love it. Definitely recommend the night market.
All right, we've gotten drinks on a rooftop. We've explored the night market. It's time for some dinner. Small change of plans. The pub place we were going to go to was totally crowded. And so we're gonna find one that's a little bit easier to get into right now because we're hungry. What a delicious meal. You can't go wrong with pho, obviously, in Vietnam. But now there's only one thing left for Alexa and I to do, and that is to conclude the episode. But to do that, we're gonna go back to where it all started, the train street. Apparently in 2019, this street was closed down because tourists were crowding the train tracks so much that it was getting dangerous. And as somebody walking down the train tracks right now, I get it. This would be very dangerous if a train came down right now. Hopefully one doesn't. As cool as this area was this morning, it is way more happening right now. There is people and shops open everywhere. Everybody's taking pictures. I don't even know how to explain it. The fact that a real train comes through here is unreal. We have made it back to where it all began, the Hanoi train street.
It looks so cool at night. I love it.
Very vibey, very cool. As we close out today's episode, I just want to stress how cool Hanoi really is. In a lot of ways, it's the antithesis to Japan, A few weeks ago, we had an episode on why Tokyo works, and Hanoi doesn't work in the same way, but it does still work. It's just a lot more chaos that's involved.
It just works differently.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed learning all about Hanoi, and especially the Old Quarter and all the history that goes into that. Of course, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and of course, like the video, and come back next week for another Vietnam adventure.
See you in July.